All right, we are back with another tier list. This is the LCS mid laner tier list for the upcoming season. Mid lane, obviously one of the most interesting positions. I think last year my two mid lane tier lists for the LCS and the LEC did the best. I'm expecting this video to perform well, hopefully too. But this one has taken a little bit longer to come out because TSM was taking their time coming up with a mid laner. But now that they have announced their man, we can finally go through this tier list. And I think LCS in the mid lane this year is very, very interesting because we have a lot of new faces. There were a lot of people coming and going in the offseason, and these rankings are going to be very, very volatile depending on who you like, who you don't like, who you have high expectations for. These could be very, very different from person to person, so I think this is going to be a fun one. I'm going to be sharing my thoughts and opinions, hopefully getting your guys' thoughts and opinions as well, but be respectful, be a normal person, be a guy trying to have discussion, not a guy coming in trying to flame everybody, because you're just not going to get a response. You're going to look like an idiot. With that being said, let's get right into this. Starting at the bottom, I got to go with Blue in the F tier. Coming over from SK last year, I was not really impressed with Blue. I thought he looked pretty disgustingly terrible in a lot of the games I watched. There was a few LEC mid laners last year that actually really did not impress me at all. But Blue was definitely one of them. And if you told me that this guy was going to get another chance in a major league this year, I would say that's, I probably wouldn't believe it. You can say the LCS is a lower league than the LEC or whatever you want. This is weird to me. I don't understand why, even if Dignitas believes in Blue and thinks he's going to be good or could develop or whatever, why not go to Academy? I can't imagine there was much of a market for Blue or anything like that. Why not give him a chance to go back to Academy, regain his footing, regain his confidence, maybe develop a little bit, maybe get a little bit better, because clearly he was outclassed, he was outmatched last year in the LEC. Now, for every player, I don't believe you're as good as your best day or as bad as your worst. So I'm not saying he has no chance, that there's no way he could be good. But I don't think it's a coincidence that he gets a starting mid lane spot on the team that like one of his former coaches is coaching now. That reeks of, something not right going on, because when you look at, they have a connection and a history, and nothing we saw from Blue in the LEC last year tells us that he should be in LCS or LEC or anywhere starting mid laner. Super, super strange. I hate this move from Dignitas. I have to put Blue in the F tier to start out this list, and I have to give that little rant, every time Blue's name comes up, because I think it's just horrible decision making by Dignitas. Again, that doesn't mean he can't work out, but giving him that shot that he has not earned and doesn't deserve makes absolutely no sense. Next up, I have one more guy in the F tier. That is going to be Palafox for CLG. This is another guy who I understand a little bit more why he's getting a chance. He is a North American mid laner, and if you can hit on a North American mid laner, that is going to reap even better rewards. Now, Palafox is coming off also not a very good year, just like Blue, but Palafox was seen as a very, very hype prospect coming into 2021. Obviously, it didn't work out, but a lot of stuff didn't work out for FlyQuest. I think some of it can be blamed on the team. Some of it could be blamed on the environment. Palafox was a rookie. I don't know, and he's coming over to CLG. Can't really have super high expectations for them either. I know they have new management, new coaching staff, new infrastructure, new everything put in place. Maybe that'll be better. Maybe it'll be the same. Maybe it'll be worse. Who knows? But I do think Palafox has a ton of talent. But yeah, he hasn't not been able to showcase it yet. Last year was a rough year for him. So I have to start him out in the F tier, just like my man Blue, and that's where we are at. Next up, we're going to move on to the C tier, where I have Takoili, I don't know how you say this guy's name, but this is the new FlyQuest mid laner coming over from the LFL. I believe he was even an MVP at one point in the LFL, which has got to be a good sign. The LFL is overall a very, very good European regional league, but still, he's coming from European regional leagues. Just like with Blue and Palafox, you can look good in the ERLs, you can look good in Academy, you can look good at some lower leagues, but taking that jump to the LEC, to the LCS, whatever, it's different. You never know. It's kind of a crapshoot. Some of these players are able to transition their skills well. Some players are even better when they get up to the higher leagues, and some players, most players, are worse, if not significantly worse, especially in their first season, and I think that might be the case for Takoili as well. Again, I'm not saying he's going to be bad. It looks like he's a fast, aggressive, fun style player, and I think that's going to be exciting to watch, but it might take him some time. He might need to get his feet wet a little bit in the LCS. Also, coming from Europe over to North America, that sometimes is a tough transition for people, and also, he's going to be playing on FlyQuest, which Last year was not that great of a team. This year is also not expected to be that great of a team. Maybe they're having some coaching issues, some infrastructure issues, some management issues, and just the roster around him that might make it a little bit more difficult for Takoye to stand out in 2022. I don't know, but I hope he does well. We will see how that one goes. Next, moving into the B tier, I really believe there is a clump of mid laners in the B tier, and this is where I think this list starts getting pretty spicy, and where I think it starts getting really, really hard to kind of mix and match these guys up. But I'm going to be going in the B tier with Jojo Pune. We didn't have a picture for him, so we did him kind of dirty. This is like a picture from an AMA or something like that. But Jojo Pune is being hyped up as a once in a lifetime, once in a generation, whatever, North American talent. This guy is, being compared to, I guess, like the likes of like Double Lift being a North American prospect, that he could potentially be at that level, that he at least has the potential. It's not like, oh, he could be the best North American player of all time, but he has that potential to maybe have a career like that. And I don't know if people necessarily think this is the year that he was ready to make the jump to the LCS, or if he needed one more year in academy or whatever, but EG thought now is the time. It makes a lot of sense for them. But with all young players, I do believe there's always growing pains. Now, I think Jojo Pune is in an awesome situation. I think EG is a great staff that has done a good job of developing players and giving them an opportunity. Look at what they were able to do with Danny last year. And if they're able to have even a fraction of the success that Danny had with Jojo this year, when overall Jojo is probably seen as a more naturally talented and gifted player than Danny is, even though Danny's a beast in his own right, then this could be a very, very successful season for both Evil Geniuses and Jojo Pune. But until we see him in the LCS, it's tough to say. It's tough to say how these things are going to project up and how these things are going to come to light. This is a very, very young, inexperienced player who's going to be playing against a lot of, savvy veterans and a lot of also very, very talented people. It's not like he's going to be going up against cans and just going to be able to, skill check them or finger check them or hand check them or whatever you want to say it. So I do think Jojo is going to be exciting and fun to watch. I can't wait to see how he stacks up against the other LCS mid laners. But I, kind of have him in the bottom of the B tier. I don't expect him to be like a C tier player or anything like that, but I just think there's maybe going to be some other mid laners in the LCS, especially right off the bat, if we're talking lock-in, spring split, stuff like that. Next up, I'm going to be going with the new TSM mid laner, Kaido. This guy is obviously coming from the LDLs. He's 20 years old, so he's not super young. TSM was talking about going young, developmental, and all this stuff. I don't know when he turns 21. I don't know if he'll be, 21 like fairly recently into the season or not till like Worlds or anything like that. I don't know, but it's not like they got some like 17-year-old cracked Chinese player that a bunch of other Chinese and Korean teams wanted, and they just snatched this guy away from them, and now they have, some god or anything like that. It's like, no, he was a good, maybe okay, like above average LDL player on a below average LDL team that I hadn't really heard as a hyped up Chinese prospect. I don't really think anyone else had before TSM Scouting Combine either. And we've even had people come out in the TSM organization and say that this guy did good in our Scouting Combine. We think he's a good fit for our team. We think he's going to be successful in his transition to the LCS. We think he's going to be a good mid laner for TSM. But we don't know. Just like you guys, we don't know. I mean, Parth and TSM are literally saying that right now. So I think a lot of TSM fans are, on super hopium. They're getting way overhyped. I think they're being a bit, if not a lot, delusional about even TSM's own expectations as a team. They don't know how this guy's going to do. Just like coming from Academy to LCS or ERLs to LCS, coming from the LDLs to LCS, especially as a 20-year-old player, a little bit further on in your career, there's no guarantee for just how good you're going to be. So that's why I'm keeping him in the B tier for now. I do expect him to hopefully be better than somebody like Jojo. He's got a couple more years under his belt. He's a little bit older. He should, I think the LDLs are seen as better than like Academy, obviously, as well. So I think he should be able to come in and be pretty good. But this TSM team has a lot of question marks. Again, there's always generally question marks about the TSM coaching staff. How's Chowie going to do? TSM's management, infrastructure, the pressure that they put on players, and coming from China to the United States, not necessarily an easy transition to make. We'll see how he does. I kind of have him right around here for now. 5th, 6th best mid laner in the league is what I'm kind of expecting coming in the year. But that could definitely change. We will see. Next up in the B tier, I have a Blaze Olive. This is a guy who I'm very, very high on. I think a Blaze last year was the best North American mid laner. And I think he has a chance to be the same this year. I think he is very, very solid. I think he's very, very consistent. usually good, at times great. Not consistently great. I'm not saying he's some kind of beast or that he's clapping people left and right, but I think he's pretty consistent. He's always going to be there. But at times, last year, certain games, certain series, whatever, he showed up and carried. He was great, especially down the stretch, when Golden Guardians, people kind of forget about this now, towards the end of the regular season, they went on a little streak. They went on a little run to even be able to make the playoffs after their terrible spring split, and a big part of that was a Blaze Olive. I think, since he's gotten a chance to actually play in the LCS with an organization, with a coaching staff that believes in him, I think Blaze Olive's been putting in work. And if he was better than Kaido, if he was better than Jojo Pune, maybe not 1, 2, 3 years from now, but this season, I would believe it. I think it's possible. I think a lot of people are sleeping on a Blaze Olive right now. Now, yes, he's on Golden Guardians. They don't exactly have the best team around him, but I think they have a chance to do, some okay things this year, and I think a Blaze Olive is going to be a big part of that. Finally, at the top of the B tier, I really think these 4 mid laners are a big clump. I think any way you kind of mix and match these guys, I wouldn't argue with you too much. I do think they should all be B tier, though. I'm pretty, firm on that, but maybe you think one of these guys should be moved up to the A tier or something like that, but I don't really think any of them have earned that status just yet. But if any of them has, it's Fudge. If you had Fudge in like A- tier coming into the season, I would not complain of that too much, but I have him like B+ right now. This guy, thinking back to last year, he's this huge hyped up academy prospect, comes into lock-in and he sucks. I mean, he was really, really bad. Cloud9 fans were pissed. They're like, we kicked Licorice for this guy. What is going on? This guy might be the worst player in the LCS. People were rating him as like the 8th or 9th best top laner in the league. And that narrative changed very, very fast. This guy ended up having a decent spring split, a really good MSI, a good summer split, a good Worlds, and he became a beast. I think he's like 19 years old right now. Super, super bright future ahead of him. People, were on the Fudge bandwagon all of a sudden. But now he's switching to mid lane. And, that transition might have to start all over again. He's also not getting to go to Korea to boot camp with the team because he's having some, visa issues or whatever. So I don't know, and there are going to be some good mid laners in the LCS. Right here, I have Fudge as 4th best. This isn't like a knock on Fudge at all. I think it's going to be a successful role swap. I think it's going to be a good change, but I also think it's going to take time. Just like last year, coming to the LCS, there was growing pains. Coming in the mid lane this year, there's going to be some growing pains. It's different champions. It's a different style. You're more centered around the team. You have to play with your jungler more. There's all different kinds of things you have to do way differently. Not that Fudge isn't capable, but, we will see how it goes. I want to keep my expectations low and move people up as they prove that they, deserve it or that they've earned it or whatever. Next up in the A tier, I have Power of Evil. Now, this is like, most of the time in the LCS, it's such a team game that the best players on the best, or the players on the best teams look really, really good. But Power of Evil is not going to be playing on one of the best teams this year. Immortals, like, as high as I'm seeing people rate them, I've seen people put them 5th, but I think most people are going to have Immortals like 6th or 7th coming into the year. So to say the Power of Evil is going to be the 3rd best mid laner in the LCS, that he's going to be an A tier mid laner, might be a little bit of a stretch, but throughout the past 5, 6, 7 years between EU LCS, the LEC, and the LCS, Power of Evil has always been one of the best. He's consistently, even on bad teams, even though he has champion pool issues, even though, there's some people better than him or whatever, he's always consistently at the top, even when he's on good teams, bad teams, whatever. People are, critical about his year with TSM last year because they think, his champion pool issues cost the team going to Worlds or whatever. This guy was a top 3 mid laner in the spring and summer split. He was, should have, in my opinion, should have been first team all-pro mid laner in the spring split. Summer split, he was still, pretty good. Now, was it annoying and frustrating his champion pool at times? Did he not show up in some games? Yeah, sure, but throughout the whole season, this guy's really, really consistent late game carry threat as a mid laner. He's an absolute veteran, very, very savvy, and I think he's going to give fits to these 4 guys that I have below him right now, even on Immortals. He also has Xerxes pairing up as his jungler. I think they're going to be a formidable mid-jung duo, and I'm not ready to just trash Power of Evil for last year or because he's going to Immortals or anything like that. Now headed into the S tier, I have Abadage. This guy came over from Schalke, obviously came over to 100 Thieves and was just a smash hit right away. He was an MVP candidate in the summer. He wins a title in the summer, and then he goes on to Worlds and does pretty well. 100 Thieves goes 3-3 in a really, really tough group and doesn't make it out, but I think they overperformed a lot of people's expectations, especially when their group was, EDG and 100 Thieves. Abadage was really, really good. I think he's going to be really, really good again. And, there's just not a lot of great mid laners in the LCS. I don't think it's going to be super, super stiff competition. I don't think it's going to be very, very difficult for Abadage to stand out against a lot of these guys, especially when 100 Thieves is going to put a really, really great team around him again this year. So I see him as an S tier for sure. But at the very top of the list, you know it, I got to be going with my man Bjergsen. There is some risk, there is some concern, there is some question marks here. Two very, very fair questions. One, how is the layoff going to affect him? How is taking a year off, how good is he going to be? But I think he's going to be good. He's always been good. He's motivated. He seems ready to go. He's coming off a solo Korean boot camp. He's going to be grinding a ton. Now, he hasn't got as much practice on all the new champions over the past year that everybody else has. He doesn't know all the matchups, all that stuff, but I know he's focused. I know his mentality. I know his mindset. I know his work ethic. He is going to be there, and this is still Bjergsen at the end of the day. This is the best LCS player, one of the best players in the West of all time. So talented, so insane. And then you have that stacked TL roster around him. The other question is just, is his motivation going to be there? Obviously, he already retired. He didn't want to play. He was done. He was past it. Oh, but now he's back. Is that motivation going to keep coming and going, like a double lift situation or something like that? And again, I don't think he would be here. I don't think he'd be doing this if he wasn't fully committed 100% to at least this one season with TL. Maybe we'll see going into the future. But I think in this year, Bjergsen is going to be the best mid laner in the LCS. I think TL is going to be the best team. I think Bjergsen's going to be a big part of that, and I think TL's team around him is going to be a big reason why Bjergsen is so successful. I'm happy to see him back. I think it's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait, but this is my 2022 LCS mid laner tier list. Thank you guys so much for watching. Definitely drop a like if you did enjoy it. I'd appreciate it so much. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think I got right, what you think I got wrong, or maybe even what your tier list looks like. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one, but until then, peace!